Hello and welcome to today's People Power Social Club, our daily digital event space where we meet up, have a chat, learn something new, and get together whilst we are in lockdown during the COVID-19 quarantine. Today, our guest speaker is me, James Molkie Malcolmson, and I will be talking about powering change as an individual. Oh, thanks, Bernie, for making me the spotlight. And this talk looks at the power and influence of the individual to elicit change in society through participation and building social capital in our local communities. I was quite pleased when I wrote that. It sounds very good. We'll see if it lives up to it. I am Molkie, and I am a director at People Power. And today, this talk will include who am I, an introduction to People Power, some 3 lessons of change learned hard through doing People Power, our theory of change and how the individual fits into that, and then some takeaways for you guys to take away with you. So I am Molkie. My real name is James Malcolmson. My dad is also on the call. He's Alan Malcolmson. He's also a Molkie. That's how the name works. I am head of events and digital and director at People Power, and I joined way back in 2016. My background is in product design. I worked for Unilever doing open innovation and also packaging, classic. And nowadays I work as a freelance graphic designer up in London with my own little client base. And throughout the summers, I work at music festivals. Maybe I should say worked, past tense, worked at music festivals and investigated waste management at these events. I did that with a company called Camplight. We used to salvage tents, and then we would hire them out and pre-pitch them events. And through Competent, where we were tackling the 1 in 5 tents left behind at music festivals and developing products and solutions to try and tackle that. People Power. Now, we've been working on this for a number of years to synthesize really what we are, and I think we're getting there after 5 years now. We are a collective with a passion for sustainability, whether that's technology, ideas, or concepts. And we create events and spaces to share knowledge, ideas, and those skills to spark action. Because ultimately, we believe that empowered people with the right tools can make a healthier, happier, greener world. But it wasn't always like this in People Power. So here are my 3 lessons in kickstarting change that I've learned through my involvement with People Power. Firstly, that change and ideas can happen and can start anywhere. It was back in 2015 when our founders, Josh Bailey and Adam Russell Kane, met at a music festival, queuing for the showers, and got talking to each other about their research. Adam doing a master's in environmental science, and Josh doing a PhD in hydrogen fuel cells. And together, outside of a solar-powered shower, they were like, we need to tell people about our research and these technologies. It'd be a great equalizer. We could do it at music festivals. And that was the spark, this idea of sharing knowledge from these academics to the general public in a non-science setting. So I got roped in the February of 2016, and at that point we had no idea what we were doing. We had a vague idea, a festival exhibition, something maybe with a stage, some talks, programming, panel, some demos, some workshops that you could come in and play with, you could come and chat with us, we could have performances. We didn't really know how we were going to do it. And so we just had to make it up and learn about things on the spot, like public liability insurance. What the hell is a RAMS? It's a risk assessment and method statement. And all these things that, like any noble pursuit, you don't know at the beginning, and it's best not to know all the details because it would put you off. And 3, I learned that you have to embrace the imperfect. And that kills me a little bit on the inside as a designer. There's what you want to do, there's how you think you're going to do it, and then there's one hell of a journey to how it actually happens. And you need a bit of luck and maybe a touch of help from God. So what happened at this very first event that we ever did was 3 of us turned up. We had a 3-meter tall compostable TP structure, a gazebo with a hydrogen fuel cell, no talks, no programming, 1 demo, no exhibition board. It was nothing like what I imagined it would be. But what we did create was a space and a forum where people felt welcome to come in, could sit, chat. We'd talk about renewables, science, philosophy, economics. We had performances, poetry, and we created what the value that we created was a space where people could come and share and exchange ideas. And it wasn't all about having the demos, about creating the space in people's heads, but also physically, to be open to change. And we continued working with this festival. And in 2019, our 4th event, we had a bigger team and we actually were able to start delivering on these things that we had hoped to do in 2016. We had our stage, we had scheduled talks, we had programming, we brought in partners to deliver workshops, we ran workshops, we had a wind turbine made from the scraps from somebody's grandmother's garden. And yeah, we were drawing crowds of 60 to 100 people per talk in a little 2,000-person festival. And through that persistence and continuing and just growing our ideas and working together, we were able to create the beginnings of change in a community. I think it's worth highlighting how far we've come, just us few individuals and then our collection of individuals. So 2016, we had 2 events, 10 volunteers, and 192 engagement hours, direct time speaking with and working with the public. In 2019, not only did we do music festivals, community centres, we also landed a grant project with the Royal Academy of Engineering to run after-school workshops for 16 weeks on the whole engineering process, from ideas, from renewable tech to engineering skills like sketching, drawing and modelling, through to creating projects and products with these kids. And we had 43 events, 58 volunteers, and 1,049 direct engagement hours. And I have to stress this is a volunteer organisation and we don't have any paid employees, but what we could do when we came together and worked on a common cause. I think it's quite easy when we think about individual scale change to think of it very much in isolation and to think of it in small quantifiable activities with direct outputs. We could plant some seeds and grow some plants. We could change our light bulbs and reduce our energy bills. But I want to think about how the individual change really ripples out and can create a wider change. And it's not always visible to see that ripple, but it is there. And I think to do that, we need to discuss the theory of change that we have in people power, what we want to see, and how we think we get there, and how we take steps to get to where we want to be. So as we see it at the moment, in the general population and in our society, the economical and political systems need improving. And yet many of us feel apathetic, helpless, and hopeless to start change, let alone sustain it. And the question is, how can we change this? And we see the opportunity is there to create personal growth for the individuals, to help foster communities of like-minded people, growing social capital between them so that they can support each other in creating sustainable change. So I'm going to talk about how this looks at an individual level and then how we support that as a company afterwards. So this is our theory of change. A person starts off as feeling apathetic or hopeless about being able to create change or the future. We run events that leave them feeling energized as an individual. They either come in with a passion or we can help foster a passion for a particular subject. They become part of a team and become an experienced member in delivering events. It leads them to become an empowered leader who makes events happen, to becoming a courageous change maker who can have an outrageous vision but has the confidence in a community to back it up and make it happen. What does this look like? It starts off as attending an event, learning something new or a skill or an idea, getting better about the future and yourself. To step into people power, it needs to have the sustainability element, so it gets involved in some aspect of sustainability, helps to deliver a project, gets involved on the ground, but then takes a more operational role and starts to make some decisions, leads a smaller team or a topic or an area within a bigger project, and has the vision. And I think the example of this at the moment for us is the vision to apply for that Royal Academy of Engineering grant, and completely out of our comfort zone, dealing with sums of money we don't normally deal with. And I think this is really the frontier for people power, is actually how do we move forward with visions and wider scope and make that happen. It's kind of where we are. We're still growing as a company. And the first two elements are very much an individual level, and you can partake in that without getting caught in a community or having to have a high level of participation. And the second area is where people power sits. It's about volunteers and community. And we are creating this talent funnel that moves people from passionate individuals to experienced, to empowered, to courageous change makers. It's the journey that I went on. I think it's the journey Bernie went on. And it's very much, I think, Lauren, the journey that you hopefully feel like you're on. You're somewhere on the spectrum. We're all somewhere on the spectrum. Really is about creating.
2 thumbs up.
Sorry?
2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up, yes. For us, it's about passionate people, whatever their passion is, and their skill sets, whether they're creative, a researcher, a planner, or a strategist. It's about giving opportunities to practice new skills, involved in teams, delivering projects. I've said this before, the kind of things that you're not qualified to do in a job because you haven't got the experience, this is a place where you can learn those elements and get that experience. And when we talk about empowered leaders, we're not talking about Elon Musk's, we're talking about within a team, your area or sub-team, like it's leadership at all levels, not just the very, very top. But that requires collaboration, project leaders, being able to listen to people, and just the experience of having done it in a low-risk environment so that you feel more confident when it really matters. So we've talked about the individual and that movement across and how individual change you can grow and grow. And now I want to look at it just from the people power organizational perspective, what we do to facilitate that growth. It is about building confidence when we meet the public through workshops and skills, building terrariums, solar panels, making wind turbines out of bottles. It's about creating experiences for our team, volunteers who can turn up on the day and participate, help students or kids and help adults learn something new. It's about us fostering and building our own community so that we can have ideas and projects that will let us put on experiences. And as we bring more and more people in, our network starts to involve more and more partnerships, Royal Academy of Engineering, schools, different festivals. We're growing that. And the lovely thing is it all works backwards. As we grow our network, it gives us exposure to more people. We get more volunteers for events, and it allows us to run more workshops. I think that's the key thing, is this change can happen all the way up, but you might only participate at the very individual level. But by you arriving at an event and just attending, you're creating the ability for people who have organized the event to learn how to organize events, self-organize, work as a team. And that's the kind of rippling effect you can have as an individual just by participating and attending. So this is kind of where we get to with the key takeaways. There's action in change as an individual and facilitating other people to create change. I think that's the 2 ways I'm going to frame it. We've learned that you need to be open to possibility, whether you're chatting to somebody in the shower queue at a music festival, or you have an audacious idea of, let's go and teach people stuff at a festival. You'll never know everything when you start, and this is a good lesson for all of life. Do the best you can with what you have, but don't be scared to start. I think I stole this from Roosevelt, fail daring greatly. We didn't achieve our first aim when we did our first festival, but we dared and we failed greatly. And I think we will continue to do that as we push and try new projects. Participation multiplies the experience. As I say, if you can just attend a local event, whether it's something a garden centre or a community centre is putting on, you're letting the people who have organised it get experience, and that can have a great rippling effect as it builds social capital, community building, and then communities can work together. Use stepping stones. Don't feel like you always have to jump in at the highest end. Attend, maybe help make the teas or help people get into it, like be somebody who can help guide people into an event or community. Like you can just participate in a low level way, and then maybe you'll want to step it up and progress further and further up into organization. But ultimately, it all requires participation, and for us to be the change that we wish to see. So if we think a community, if an area needs to be tidied up or look better, we can participate in messaging and trying to pull together a team to tidy it up. Or if we want to see businesses or economics that challenge the existing way of doing business, and it requires people like us to invent them, because nobody else is going to invent them. So for me, individual action is all stepping stones into building the world that you want to see. And I'm going to just finish with my own quote. Doesn't that sound funny? But this idea that people power helped me to feel empowered, and it's grown my confidence to speak out when I see a problem, speak up when I have a solution, stand up to be counted, seek out different perspectives, and support those changing the world. And I want everybody to feel like that, and that's why I work at the operations level of people power, to make sure we create that funnel, those options, those activities, in the hope that people will follow a similar path and feel empowered. At this point, I can take any questions before I plug what we're up to for the next week. Now, guys, don't all rush. It's okay. We've got plenty of time for questions. Now, I know Bernie's sort of seen this before, and Lauren was there the first time I wrote this.
I just want to say that this version 2, part 2, or this new expanded version is great, Molkie.
Thank you, Lauren.
Very clear.
Doing a lot of strategy at the moment on the director's level and trying to figure out where we want to go and how we frame it and what is our purpose. And I think we're getting there. Yes, thank you for saying it's an improvement. That's good.
How have you been? It does all sound fascinating. I agree, and I really enjoyed the theory of change too. I felt like it was really practical expression of something that's often gets a bit, I don't know, vague, doesn't it? So I thought that, but I'm interested to know how you're adapting at the minute in lockdown. Have you got quite strong communication networks? Like, how does it feel like a community for people? Are you still active at the moment, I guess?
I think I'm probably the wrong person, because this is a good chunk of my life to talk about, but I can say what we do is we do have this daily social club that people can attend, and we get a reasonable turnout of maybe 6 to 12 depending on our speakers. We've also very successfully, Katia launched a monthly pub quiz, and we have had maybe 60-70 people turn up to each of them so far, and we've had teams move in and run it, and Lauren was instrumental in the very last one we did. And yes, so this is something new we've started, is trying to have a quarterly brunch to keep the community together. We work in 2 core teams at the moment, which is the business development workshops and things, and we also have the road shows and events, which we're probably going to package up for the rest of the year now, because that's and so the brunch is an opportunity for us to celebrate. We're trying to do a bit like a startup, celebrate things that are happening in people's lives, talk about the projects that are moving forward. We talk about things that we've tried and haven't worked, or the funding got cut, or whatever. So we are working hard on it. We've got our Slack channel for all our operational volunteers, our newsletter that goes out every 2 weeks. We've got daily events. We were doing a late night event. But Lauren, I guess maybe you're in a better position to talk about how it feels as a community, because I've been involved for 4 or 5 years. Please.
So, some background. I only got involved the beginning of last year, and I started just by attending a workshop, and then Molkie wrapped me in to the whole thing, and I've been involved ever since. And I actually think that there's more chatterings amongst ourselves now during the lockdown of the past few weeks than I have gotten for maybe a few months before that. So messaging people, we have a Slack channel about growing vegetables and things. So, people are posting their progress, getting updates from all kinds of people all over London, the projects that they're working on and how we can support each other. So I think that there's a lot of community support from People Power right now, which is great.
That sounds great. It also sounds quite like what you said about the building of like-minded communities to kind of essentially fortify people in their own growth. Because I think sometimes there's a little bit of hesitancy around. So in my work, for example, we don't, in a comms term, we don't use like-minded things for people, because the idea is that I guess you can also have connection with people who aren't like-minded, and that has value. But I enjoy it. It's also really important to have that base of people that that will be more likely to be interested in growing vegetables or all of the various fun things that you're sharing on the Slack channel. Sounds like a really nice community.
Thank you. And yeah, it's something really in 6 months we've been thinking more about. We had the big RA project for about a year, and we came out of that quite different in that we had very definitive goals and events that people could get involved with. And therefore we grew to maybe 40, grew like an extra 30 volunteers in that year. And I think now we're just finding our feet again. We're not losing, but they don't want to be, some of them don't want to partake in the level that we're doing. There's always a level of participation where you just want to turn up to an event and do 6 hours of helping. And obviously we're not putting on those events at the moment. So I think we've kind of stripped down to a nice 18 or 20 of pretty active people who are keen to lead projects or have ideas. And sometimes I feel, hopefully now my role is a bit more of slight mentoring, like head of the events, I'm trying to help people who put on their events. And that's the kind of role I'm building for myself, I hope.
Yeah, like enablers. That's nice. I agree.
Stay safe, stay busy, and tell us a cool story next time we see you.